Hey, what is going on, webheads? Roundaway here. 2026, you can basically play any Persona game on any console you own, at least when it comes to the mainline games. Especially a lot of newer fans, like anyone who's gotten into the series within the past 5-ish or so years, they're probably just used to being able to play Persona on basically anything. If you're an older Persona fan like me and a lot of other people, you didn't always have this luxury of being able to just play any Persona game whenever you want. Sure, there's emulation, but a lot of people just don't want to do that. And also, for me, I usually don't like beating games in emulation. I don't know why, I just like am less likely to beat a game if I'm emulating it. I don't know, I just like owning games. But no, this is how I first played and beat Persona 3 and 4. Persona has basically remained pretty much a PlayStation exclusive for almost all of its entirety. Except for a few games here and there, mainly spin-off games for whatever reason, have been on more than one console. Even if we're talking about mainline, there's still a couple games that are console exclusive, so to speak, meaning that they're only on these couple consoles and you can't just readily download them on Steam or the Nintendo Switch or any other console that you own. Now that's what I want to be talking about today, like some Persona games that are still console exclusive for some reason. You know, basically almost every game is available on every modern platform that you can think of. I'm gonna be playing this term fast and loose. Not all of these games are console exclusive, meaning that they're only on one very specific console. Some of these are on multiple consoles, but usually it's either one company's consoles, like PlayStation for instance, or they're just on one console but not the other. And sometimes even versions of the same game for some reason are on different consoles. That's what I'm going to be looking at. Starting with one that's pretty obvious to most people, Persona 1 and 2 aren't on any modern consoles at all. And mainly the main way people are playing them nowadays is just emulating them. There'd be fan translations of the original Persona 1 and 2. Or mainly how most people are doing it through the PSP re-releases. These games were just never released on anything else for some reason. Probably just due to lack of popularity. I mean, we all know that Atlus only cares about the first 3 Persona games. By first 3 Persona games, I mean 3, 4, and 5, because that's how Atlus treats it. That's where Persona started with 3, but who knows, hopefully this whole video and this might just be outdated, but hopefully Persona 1 and 2, they get their PSP versions, or even translated fully original versions just re-released on modern consoles. That would be cool. Honestly, I think Persona 1 and 2 need a remake the most out of anything. Like, Persona 3 was my favorite, well, is my favorite Persona game, but if there was literally no remake, I'd be fine. You know what I mean? I wouldn't care if there wasn't a remake. I think, honestly, Persona 1 and 2 should have gotten the remakes first. They should just went in order, kind of like how Resident Evil does it, where sequels only get a remake after the original games get a remake. And aside from that, there's basically the other obvious example is that almost every original version of a Persona game, like before the Royal Golden, one of the 8 billion versions of Persona 3, only be played on their original hardware. Except Portable, obviously, because Portable, for some reason, is the version of Persona 3 that got ported. If it were up to me, I would just include all of them in, like, one game. Basically, it would be, like, called the Persona 3 Collection or something, and you could just choose between Vanilla 3, Fez, and Portable. I don't see why they just ported Portable, but it was probably just a lot of work to bundle all of them, and plus, they would have overcharged the shit out of them, probably making you pay upwards of $60 just to play all 3 versions of Persona. When the original Persona 3, in all honesty, you might as well just play Fez at that point. The original version of Persona 4 can only be played on a PS2. And by technicality, Persona 3 and 4 can also be played on like the PS3 backwards compatible thing. At one point you could buy them digitally, but I'm not too sure if you can actually do that anymore. Let me know if I'm wrong, but yeah, you could play Persona 3 and 4 on the PS3. But still, you couldn't play them on, let's say, like Steam or something like that without playing Golden, or Reload, or Portable. And now, Persona 5 also is like this technically. I mean, you could basically play it on every PlayStation console, every modern one, because it's on PS3 and PS4 originally, and you could still play it on PS5 with the PS4 version of the game, because mostly every single PS4 game is backwards compatible with PS5, as well as Royal just being on every console, literally. Now, does it really matter that those games are not on every console? Not really, because like I said, usually the enhanced version is just the better version, aside from some minor things, or, you know, just preference. Maybe some people just want to go back and play the original one, and also game preservation's sake, because why not? Like, you might as well just, but I get not wanting to re-release it when you already have the better version of the same game. Still think that Persona 1 and 2 should either just get a remake or at least a port so that more people can actually play them, and it'll show Atlus that people actually care about Persona 1 and 2. This is where this gets more interesting, is Persona spin-offs. Persona spin-offs have basically been on whatever fucking console they feel like. Like, there's literally no deciding factor on what makes this Persona spin-off go on what console, I feel like. Like, they just be putting them on whatever. The biggest example is Persona Q, which is a series of, like, little crossover mini RPGs that released in 2014 for the Nintendo 3DS. Again, why were these only on the 3DS? I mean, not that they really needed, like, you know, a console treatment, but it feels weird that they were just never on any other Nintendo console, at least. Same thing with Persona Q2, which was released in 2018, also on the 3DS. They never got ported to any other Nintendo console or the Switch or anything, which is just super weird. And also the fact that this was even released on the DS of all things is even weirder, because Persona's never been on Nintendo at all. And also the 3DS, honestly, to me, it just seemed more of like a kid-oriented system. So it's like this M-rated RPG series that's never been on their consoles. Like, it just might have been weird for a lot of people. It's like, what the hell is this Persona thing? I mean, Persona is popular enough where if you're into like anime games in general, or games in a similar art style to anime, you've probably heard of Persona. But it's still weird in general, just because, like I said, no association with Nintendo up until this point, unless you count like the old SMT games, but those aren't Persona games, and some more recent SMT games for like the original DS. And also, I guess it sort of makes sense with Atlus being really heavily associated with Nintendo later on, with SMT 4 and 5 both being exclusives for a while. Well, SMT4 is still an exclusive, but SMT5's on most consoles now. We'll get back to Nintendo in a second, though, but for now, I want to talk about Persona 4 Arena. I talked about Persona 4 Arena a bunch on my channel. It's a really good fighting game, and I like fighting games in general, so it's probably the Persona spin-off series I've put the most time into. There are two versions of the game, if you don't know. The original Persona 4, and then Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which is basically the enhanced, better version with more characters and stuff, and it's just overall the more popular version. The game was a collaboration between Atlus and Arc System Works, and was originally released for the PS3 and Xbox 360. Yeah, the Xbox 360. Again, no association with Atlus, basically, up until this point, unless you count that weird SMT9 game. Not SMT9 like number 9, like the game is just called SMT9, and it came out for the original Xbox. And I think it was a Japanic, like, this game is so weird, dude. I don't know. But the reason that it was on Xbox 360 isn't really known. I did see online that they just wanted to expand the series to other consoles, and this was just an easy way of doing it because it's just a random fighting game. Even though this game has deep lore that's connected to both Persona 3 and 4, since both characters star in it and they reference what happened in the other game. So if you were just playing this game casually, you would have no idea what's going on in the story. But most people were just playing it because it's a fighting game anyway, so that's all that really matters, I guess. I mean, I haven't beaten Persona 4 Arena story mode, and will I? Probably. It seems interesting, I just never got the time to. Yeah, for a while, these games were only on the PS3 and 360, and then in 2021, during the Persona 25th anniversary, this game randomly just got announced that Ultimax would be ported to every console. Except not really. Okay, here's the weird thing, right? Like I said, both Ultimax and the original Persona 4 Arena were on Xbox 360. But for some reason, Atlus just decided to not port the game to Xbox for the re-release, which is okay, that's really weird, but here's where it gets even weirder. The original Persona 4 Arena is backwards compatible on modern Xbox consoles. Like, you can literally take the disc, put it in your Xbox right now and play it. You can play the original Persona 4 Arena on your Xbox right now, but you can't play Ultimax, which is arguably the better version of the game. And you're probably thinking, oh, why not just play Ultimax backwards compatible? No, that game's not backwards compatible. So again, the original version is backwards compatible, but you can't play the backwards compatible. It's not backwards compatible with the newer version of the game, and they just didn't release it on Xbox. I don't even know what's going on at this point. Now, before we basically wrap up what I want to talk about in this video, I want to just mention that Persona 5 Strikers, for some reason, like when it was originally only in Japan before it came out over here, it was on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, it was just on the Nintendo Switch. I just wanted to mention that because kind of, like, you could still only play this game on the PlayStation 4/5, PC, and the Switch, and it's just not on Xbox again. Okay, like, Persona's really weird when it comes to Xbox. Like, they just decide whether or not they want it to be on Xbox or not. Tactica is on Xbox, but not this game. Now, the last thing I just wanted to mention was Persona Dancing. Yeah, this series has, for some reason, never been ported. I think this is honestly the series that's most likely to get ported next, just because it's a pretty simple, just rhythm games where the characters are just dancing around and shit. And also, I would kind of want this because these games are cool and a little bit fun. I did invest time into playing these games. Just funny because I'm not really into rhythm games like that, but it was just really good remixes of Persona songs, so I was like, why not? And they were on sale. I'd like to see these games ported just because mainly I want to see mods for the game. Like, I want to see like people add in like different music tracks, or like if you could just mod in your own music, that would be cool. These games have basically remained PlayStation exclusive. The first game, Persona 4 Dancing, originally only on Vita and then eventually got ported to console. And then Persona 3 and 5 Dancing, to this day, as I'm recording this, are still only on PlayStation 4/5. And also, I guess they're on Vita. I just learned that they were on Vita. But yeah, that's basically going to be it for this video. There are a bunch of weird Persona, like, mobile game and PC, like, spin-off things. I don't even know. Half of them are, like, Japanese only, and, like, I don't even know. There's just screenshots. I don't even think there's videos for most of these things, but if you want to hear me talk about them, I'd do it. I was going to include them in this video, but I was like, this is already going to be kind of a longer video anyway, so I just decided not to include them. But yeah, let me know what Persona games you want to see ported to other consoles, and see ya.